Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Thrive Live. Hi, guys.
Hey,
Hello,
Beth.
good
day,
Hello,
good
hello.
morning, good evening.
Hey, Beth, how are you?
I'm great. Don't mind my background. I'm not
Good,
home. I'm
good.
actually at my parents' house helping out today, but
I love the
hopefully
background
this.
actually.
Yeah,
It
good
looks
looking
good.
I mean,
background.
I love the background, right? But it feels like it kind of like I'm on a spaceship and I'm trying to hide what's happening behind me, right? Like, what is it?
Yeah,
I'm waiting for like a hand to come in and be like, "Wow!"
yeah,
Right?
yep. No, I think we're all adjusting this week. I'm not at my usual home office. I'm at my daughter's home office today. So yeah, I think we're all kind of it's one of those weeks.
We're doing what we can do, right?
That's right.
Roll with
That's
the
right.
punches.
So true.
So today we're talking about the state of tech. There have been a lot of changes, some shakeups. What's the deal, Ray? What's going on?
Well, I think if you're looking at what's happening in the news, other than the political news, uh, a lot of technology companies are looking at their business. They're looking at their expenses and their revenues and figuring out that they may be running a little bit too hot on the expense side, and a lot of them are trying to make adjustments as far as their how they want to operate, and in some cases, laying employees off. And so you're hearing that from Twitter, you're hearing that from Facebook. Lyft
Mm-hmm.
also announced like 700 people today. Uh, you've got Stripe, another one that's doing the same thing. This morning, we found out that Amazon is putting a freeze on hiring. So again, a lot of things are happening, within the tech world, and uh, you know, for a lot of people in HR, they've never gone through this. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
employees have never gone through this. And so I think we're going to have a heck of a ride here between now and the first quarter of the year, with a lot more people coming into the market. There are a lot of jobs that are still open out there, so hopefully a lot of these people will be absorbed into the market quickly, uh,
Mm-hmm.
especially professionals, folks with tech backgrounds. Uh, it'll be a kind of hopefully a minor inconvenience, as far as losing a job, but there's just a lot of activity happening, and we're starting to talk to clients about that, because it really is important to do this the right way, because if you
Right.
don't, that image, from a corporate perspective, uh, you know, the person you treat poorly today, you may want to re-recruit in 12 or 18 months, and they're not going to be available.
Yeah.
So, Jason, what do you think?
Exactly.
What was the Dexter Poindexter? What was the Dexter Poindexter song? Hot, hot, hot. You're running hot, hot, hot. You said you were running hot. It
Now,
made me think of that
Yeah,
song.
exactly. Running hot.
Jason, hold on. I don't know that song. Can you give me a few more, a little
More
Running hot,
bars.
longer?
hot, hot. Running hot, hot. It was a pretty simple song. I think that was essentially the lyrics of the
The
whole
whole
song.
thing
Yeah.
for three and a
But
half
yeah, I
minutes.
mean, there's a lot of stuff going down where
Uh,
people are, running hot on expenses or want to manage expenses, and it's interesting because everything seems to be like a different type of reason. So, for instance, you have the chip manufacturers now having a glut of chips as opposed to not enough chips. So now other chip manufacturers are saying, we've got to maybe slow down hiring or do some restructuring because now we have too much inventory. And then you have Meta slowing down because of cross-site tracking issues, which was really hammered them when Apple allowed people to opt out of cross-site tracking, which really limited Meta's revenue, advertising revenue. So that was an issue. Obviously, Stripe was a benefit of the pandemic, and the pandemic allowed them to have more interest in their product because of everybody working remotely and wanting to do remote payments, and now that's not as big a deal. So, and then you have Twitter for a million different reasons that we don't even need to get into. But yeah, so every single one of them has had a different situation going on.
Yeah.
And sort of unfamiliar with tech, a lot of these companies have just been churning, dramatically for a while. And I mean, dramatically in a positive way, doing really well. So it is, it is different for sure. Now, one of the things that I've seen is, a lot of bad behavior in terms of how some of these companies are laying people off. So, I mean, if you're a big company like Meta or Twitter or whatever, you can afford to have bad practices because, people are probably just going to come work with you anyway. But if you're a smaller company or, somebody that's, not as well known or is not necessarily a brand company, you don't want to follow some of these practices that they've been using to let people go. It just haven't been really good, and you want to be a lot more sensitive to folks. So yeah, the tech space has had a lot of churn, and I don't necessarily see that slowing down anytime soon.
When we had talked recently about rescinding job offers after folks have, gotten everything in motion to go move to a different state or a different country to go start working for these companies, and the majority of those that were doing that were big tech companies, right? So
yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. If you're Meta and you rescind a job offer, what is somebody going to do? Well, I'm going to sue you. Okay, you're going to sue Meta. Good luck.
Yeah.
10 million lawyers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tough luck.
No, that's one of those practices that we, it would during our time in tech, our time as, kind of corporate HR individuals, we would really, really, that was not something we wanted to do at all. Just because, once you make somebody a job offer, they have changed their life. I mean, they've, in many cases, they've burnt their bridges in their old company because they've, either they left on good footing or they didn't leave on good footing. uh, and that individual is in the middle of a transition and trying to go back to your current employer to say, hey, you know what? Just kidding. I really do love my job. I love you guys. I never want to leave. That may be too late, and organizations may say, you know what? We've already moved on. We've transitioned your projects, we've transitioned your work. We're off to the off to the races with something else, and so you are leaving people in a really, really bad situation, and that's just not something you want to do as an organization. And it's the other side of this, of all that is happening, is to a certain degree, it could be an opportunity for organizations. I mean, as an example, one of our clients, is in the tech space, basically, do GPS work, next generation GPS. Well, guess what? Lyft does GPS work because, they got to have, global positioning, for ride sharing. So guess where we're out looking for people, as an organization, as recruiters. So, so look at these things as an opportunity. If you're an organization that needs skills and needs some folks, and really that's one of the things that we're looking at is, trying to find, technologists with the right kinds of skills in some of these organizations that could be transferable.
Yeah, we always did that at companies that I was at, where we were performing well and other companies weren't, and we had an opportunity to hire from a place that potentially we didn't before because they had top level people and they never left, but they let people go, and we dipped into that pool. So that's a very good strategy, and we've utilized that effectively before.
Yep, exactly. And then the other thing that's really important too is when you're going through, as an organization, going through this, uh, as an HR person, you can be, you know, uh, bullied into making bad decisions by the leaders, and
No,
you know,
say
and
it ain't so, Joe.
yeah, it's like, it'll be okay if we notify them by email. It'll be okay if we notify, uh, you know, 500 people via a Zoom call. Well, guess what? It's not. And you've got to do it the right way. Uh, and a lot of times, we've seen it where, hey, you're part of that HR team that is laying people off. You got a great plan. You execute. Everything has gone smoothly, And guess what happens on day 2 or day 3 after the layoff? The HR team gets hit. So,
Yeah.
you know, be prepared. Be
No, I mean,
prepared.
I always laid the HR team off in advance. Well, and, but yeah, I know that sounds funny, but it's true. So if HR people had to get laid off, or if I had to lay myself off, I always said, well, I think it's only fair that we go first, and then we kind of take the blow, and then we'll let other people know, because it
Yeah.
does happen a lot of times. You
Yeah.
guys, HR gets laid off,
Yeah.
and then you got to help out, but I don't think Elon Musk had any opinions about how to run his layoff. I don't think.
Yeah.
Right?
No, exactly.
He
No,
was just very passive in what he wanted done. That actually, I would love to be a fly on the wall, because Beth, I don't know if you and I talked about this, but I just don't understand
we did, yeah.
how he wasn't even wasn't officially the owner for until, well, literally he almost walked in the door. He was the owner, and he had by that time already had a plan in place for who he was going to let go, how many they were going to let go, when they were going to do it. And it just it's crazy to me that it just happened so quickly. Like, who was the person that he was working with? Was it his team at Tesla? Was it his team at Twitter? Was it his team at SpaceX? I mean, who helped him execute it? How did it all work? I mean, it was very poorly planned. So sorry, I guess I'm never going to work for Elon. But yeah,
and we go dark. No.
Yeah, exactly.
Show's over.
But maybe he'll respect me for telling the truth, right? Yeah, but it was poorly planned for sure. But I don't know if he necessarily cared. But I would just like to know when he started the process of deciding. Was it when he walked in the door? Were they giving him information before he got there? I don't know. It's just really interesting to me. I mean, typically the new leader comes in and says, I'm going to take 90 days to assess, or I'm going to take 6 months to assess. And that's usually the playbook, but that did not happen this time. So I'm going to take 60 seconds to assess. And he pulled the trigger. So
yeah. I think that's called, in the new world of agile, it's called agile mass layoffs.
There you go.
Well, the thing too is that
coining a phrase, right? Like,
yeah,
we need to coin the next phrase. Ray, you've done it. You've coined our phrase your catchphrase for the season.
Well, it's interesting because he also potentially violated. Well, I don't know if he or Twitter or however. So they supposedly violated the WARN Act, which is a federal act. They didn't give workers enough notification time that they were getting laid off, because there was they tripped a certain number of people that they laid off, so they triggered WARN. And then also in California, there's a sort of a baby WARN that we used to call it, that you can trip if you let go of a number of people at the same time, and he supposedly violated that too. It's interesting because we've spent a lot of time as HR people, Ray and I, and many others, making sure that everything's buttoned up, T's are crossed, I's are dotted, legal's good, you've got everything ready to roll. The whole process is looking sharp. And then you see somebody come in that really just doesn't do any of that. And it's very interesting. Like I said 3 times, I would love to have been a fly on the wall to see, hey, just ignore it. It doesn't matter. Just go for it. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. The other part that's interesting too with Twitter is, I'm starting to see, postings around, that employees that have been notified that they were laid off are now they're coming back and saying, hey, just kidding, we really needed you. We really need you for a project. You were critical. You're not laid off. So now that's starting to happen. So that just kind of tells you how this was done, without a whole lot of planning or thought. It's really, I mean, it really was intended to be a big bang kind of approach, and in a negative way, from a market perspective.
So speaking of planning, let's talk about the individual. If I work at Meta and or another tech company, and I'm laid off, or I feel it coming, right? Sometimes you kind of feel it coming, right? Like a migraine coming on. Like I feel it, something's happening, right?
Yeah.
So if you feel it coming, what
Feelings,
what is
nothing more
there
than
that you
feelings.
it's song day, it's karaoke,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
like
it
karaoke
is.
today.
It is.
Um, so what I often think about transitioning and the best way to transition and thinking about the skills that you have in this situation that you can so many of us had to do that during COVID, where me in sports television production, we all lost our jobs, so we had to transition. We had to see what skills do I have that transfer over. So there may not be another tech company hiring right now, but what skills do you have as an individual that you can you know put in the forefront that you can take to another company to try to find your new role? I always feel like that's something we
Yeah.
have to consider as individuals. What do I have that transfers over? So, that's something we can do at Thrive HR is help individuals find that and transfer over for the roles that we're filling.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is you got to just try not to worry. I mean, what happens is you look back later on, you're like, God, I worried so much after I got notified that I was not going to get a job and all these bad things were going to happen. And to lead with a more optimistic approach that, like, hey, it's kind of tough right now, but it's going to get better. Things are going to improve. And that's really the best thing to do is try to reduce your worry. Otherwise, it's just a horrible situation to deal with.
It's so easy to say, don't worry, right?
Yeah,
It's easy to be
it
like,
is.
it's fine. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the things, we've got, a service that can help employees, prepare for a transition. But I mean, a couple of things are going to be really important for employees. I mean, if you're starting to think that, I may be at risk, uh, there's some things you need to start doing to plan for, the inevitable happening. And I think that, there's some financial things that people have to do, having an emergency fund of, 3 to 6 months of your expenses, you know, that's critical because that kind of gives you a bit of a safety net. So you're not so stressed out about having to go, uh, you know, become an Uber driver or something, to
Yeah.
bring in cash. Uh, that's really important. The other part that's really important is start to think about, your resume and your LinkedIn profile and updating those things. And like you said, Beth, I mean, there's a lot of skills that are transferable. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're a software developer, in technology, well, guess what? Every organization, in the Fortune 500 needs software developers. You may not
Mm-hmm.
be developing the newest, coolest app, but you know what? Walmart's got a technology team. Retail's got them. Manufacturing's got them. You know, life sciences, biotech. I mean, there's just a ton of different industries that are looking for talent of skills that can be transferable. And
Mm-hmm.
so, the quickest way to do that is to start thinking about, okay, what jobs are out there, and then doing a side by side. Part of our process is to do a side by side where, you know, they need this, I have this, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, these are the 10 things they need. I've got 6 or 8 of them. Guess what? I'm applying for that job. Because those other
Yeah.
two are probably insignificant, and it's a different industry. Who cares? So, but I think having a very kind of planful approach to that is really important.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd love to help folks with that and work through those transitions because it's very stressful. But having a plan and you know uh, your job once you get laid off is to find a job. That's your
Yeah.
job. So you better be spending you know 4 to 8 hours a day focused on that and making connections and all the other things you have to do.
Yeah, I mean, if you
That's
have
what Dr. Phil says.
yeah, well, if you have hey, Dr. Phil, if you have an in-demand skill set, you're going to get hired. To me, it's more the people that don't have a skill set that's pretty common.
Specific.
Yeah, well, no, it's pretty common. I mean, when you have a more common skill set, and there's a lot of you out there, I mean, that's more challenging. And so those are the people where their employment takes longer. And if you're one of those people that has a skill set that's fairly common, but then you're really, really picky about what you want to do, like, I'm not doing that. That's not something I do. They're going to ask me to do this. So you've got to be able to put ego in check, and that's not easy for a lot of people to check ego. So you've got to do some personal soul searching. So if you really, really want to hold on to something, and it's really important to you that you don't work in a certain industry, or you don't do certain tasks or whatever, it's going to take you a lot longer. But if you want to work and you're interested in hitting the pavement hard and making some concessions, then you're probably get a job faster. So you just have to decide what's important to you. But working on the old personal skills, and making sure that you're not too far ahead of your skis about what you're going to do or won't do is important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
It is, and the other thing that's critical too is your network. We recommend that you are always working on your network, meeting folks for coffee, helping people out, whatever you can do to build your network. When you are employed and happily employed is the best time to build your network. The worst time to tap into your network is when you're unemployed, and you haven't talked to them in 2 years. It's tough to call somebody up cold and say, "Hey, how are you? I'm really, they're doing awesome." And then, why haven't you, checked in 2 years? Well, I've been busy working, but now I need you. That's a tough conversation to have with folks.
I never get calls like that ever.
That reminds me of that. I've seen that bumper sticker on the back of pickup trucks, and it says, "Yes, this is my truck. No, I will not help you move." Right? Don't call me just when you need heavy lifting.
Exactly. Well, that's exactly it. That's a perfect, example.
The joke in my house between my wife and I is when I answer the phone, she'll be like, "Who is that? And what do they want from you?" And so there is a lot of that out in the world.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's a huge one. I mean, your network is only as good as as you have been, managing it and developing it. Right. Because I mean, we all know, there's certain people you call on a regular basis, and there's others that gosh, I don't want to talk to them ever, except when you're unemployed.
Yeah.
Uncle Harlow, help me out.
Too late, man. Too late.
Funny. So takeaways. So keep your eyes open, keep your head on a swivel.
I mean, I think we started out talking about the tech space. So, tech space is churning. So I think we said, tech is not immune. There's a lot of different things going on in tech. So if you haven't gone through this before, the tech space has got a lot of things happening. So you're going to just have to get yourself, together and potentially face some things that haven't happened before.
Yep, exactly. And as an employee in that space, look around, look for signs, positives and negatives, and because if you're starting to see your boss huddling with HR behind closed doors a lot, not a good sign. Not a good sign in this environment.
But it also doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get impacted too. So this is why you got to not worry. You have to be like, hey, I've done what I can do. I've prepped. I'm ready to go. I may get hit. I may not get hit. But if I get hit, I'm ready. But if I don't get hit, this is a good practice, and I need to keep doing the stuff that I'm doing.
Exactly.
So, and these are situations that individuals oftentimes don't have that much control over. You can look back and you can go, I really don't know my hands in what I did to be part of this transition, to be part of this downsizing or restructuring. But I happen to, the chips fell, and so let's just go with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, be prepared. Like we talked. It's happening in tech. It's going to probably start to spread. It's not going to stop with what we've
Yeah.
heard so far. So over the next couple of months, year end is coming. A lot of companies that are on year end schedules will look at their financials and start planning for that. But as an employee, I mean, we really think it's prepare yourself financially. You know, thinking about your network and working your network. And don't get surprised, because the last thing you want to do is having a you know give your significant other a call in the middle of the day saying, "Hey, I just got hit, and boy, are we in trouble." We may want to get
Yeah.
out of that purchase that we just signed up for. So,
Yeah. Take the
really,
RV back, maybe.
yeah, exactly, yeah. That beautiful Sprinter, that's $150,000 camper. Maybe we don't want to do it right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for your insight on this. Really appreciate it. This is something we're definitely keeping an eye on. We're available to help you guys, help our viewers and our clients with this situation. So, how do they get in touch with you, Jason?
Oh, Jason at thrivehrconsulting.com.
Yeah, and Ray, Rey at thrivehrconsulting.com. Check out our website. We've got our phone numbers and contact information there. Love to help you. We are definitely available to help folks out.
Now, Beth, will you be taking the shuttle back to the Emperor's Star Destroyer after the show?
Which is so funny, because I'm probably now going to dream about aliens abducting me.
There you go. Yes,
For
Naboo. I'm going back to Naboo.
Yeah, there you go.
Endor.
There you go. So funny. So Jason, why don't you lead us out with a song and we'll end the broadcast?
I have to have inspiration, so somebody has to say something that gives me inspiration.
Give us a Star Trek theme.
Yeah, I'm bad at the Star Trek theme. It just has that real.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks again for watching.
All right, talk later.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.